Aberdeen City Council has today said that they're actually going to be taking some of the flags down. Flags have been appearing sort of in the Aberdeen area, the ones that obviously Fiona, our listener, has been emailing us about. And it's sort of interesting how the story, I suppose, in some parts is the council taking the flags down, but the story really is about the flags being up.
Yeah, and an interesting nugget on that, actually, I asked everyone I spoke to today who put them up, and they all actually said they appeared overnight around a week ago. So at least people were telling me they didn't know who'd put them up. I think, Aberdeen and Aberdeenshire Council have taken them down and given the reasoning being, well, you're not allowed to hang anything from a lamppost. It's kind of public property. The Glasgow ones are still up.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the council's point of view on this, and the fact that if it's dangerous, people putting things up or causes criminal damage or whatever it is, but you can see their point. But listen, I think our colleague Ben Phillip is doing this story today, and he's been speaking to people there.
It was a sign of good patriotism, so it was a good feel good factor.
The council are now removing them. How do you feel about that?
I think it's a disgrace. Other flags they can just put up willy-nilly and things like that, they'll be left alone, but our own national flag, I think it's an utter disgrace.
I suppose some people would argue that these flags have been linked to kind of anti-immigration and asylum seekers and the like, and the council to say that they've been put up without permission, I suppose.
You put up on your own properties, things like that, you know what I mean? But I don't think it's against... I don't think it's any right-wing agenda associated with that.
I love the Scotland flag, I love the saltire. I'd love to see it fly more, but the reasoning behind it is there's a lot of misinformation being spread, and people are quoting members of the EDL, the BNP and everything that are in jail for what they're saying that these men from the illegal immigrants are doing. So if you're going to quote people that are doing this, then make sure you've got the facts right.
The council are now removing them today. How do you feel about that?
Mixed emotions. I like seeing my flag flying. I'm proud to be Scottish, but I don't support racism.
One of the people there referenced the sort of the links to EDL and a sort of flag, kind of iconography. I mean, it is something that has been happening actually in England and has sort of the kind of campaign they're using flags in that way. It somehow seems, historically more to fit with the St George's Cross, doesn't it? I mean, your sort of far-right extremists have co-opted the St George's Cross more than I know that they have a sort of saltire.
I mean, certainly to start out with the obvious caveat of, there are plenty of people who will fly the St George's Cross, fly the Union Jack, who do so for good patriotic reasons, like the Lionesses winning the football.
Well, that's the thing during the summer. It was all about showing support for the Lionesses, and that's where it's all got quite kind of.
But what
sticky.
I don't think you can deny is historically there have been some groups who've used that to send a right-wing message. Those flags. I think what's interesting here, and the last person Ben spoke to there really kind of summed it up, was, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, I've never known the saltire to be taken by a group who want to send an anti-immigration message. And this seems to have very quickly happened. And I guess that's what we're seeing is all of a sudden people like that person Ben spoke to who likes the saltire, who wants to see it fly, actually thinking, but I don't think it's appropriate in this context, which suggests these groups, these people who are putting this up, have had some success tying this flag at this point in time to an anti-immigration message. And that is something that I'm never aware of happening with the saltire before, and why this is kind of such an interesting development in Scotland. Yeah, and so many people have different ideas of what the flag means, and obviously, people look at the saltire with pride. And John Swinney, we were saying he's entered the fray. He's actually been talking about what the saltire means to him and what he thinks it does represent.
Over the summer, the language in Westminster around immigration and asylum has been utterly chilling. Politicians calling for mass deportations. They demand that we pull out of international human rights treaties. No one seems to be ringing the alarm bell. Well, I am. I'm ringing the alarm bell for our values, for our common humanity, for our commitment to the oppressed and for those seeking sanctuary. Friends, let us join with others in saying unequivocally, our saltire is a flag of welcome, and refugees are welcome here in Scotland.
So that was John Swinney, who was giving a speech today about plans for independence, but he did actually focus quite a lot of it on immigration. And when he talked about chilling language, actually, he got asked in the Q&A, do you include Keir Starmer as using chilling language, and did say that he applies that, accused him of aping Nigel Farage. Just that final line there that John Swinney said about the saltire, our saltire as he called it, and he says it's for welcoming, it's to say refugees are welcome here. That is how John Swinney takes that flag. What I would say is the people I spoke to in Tollcross today who are happy with those saltires going up, that is not the message that they want this flag to send. And it now appears that there is in Scotland different views about what that flag means. And obviously the SNP will be very, very keen to ensure that they do not lose their sort of, I don't want to say ownership, but what they use the saltire for, which is a big part of their political message, Scottish independence, and you know, they very much, their nationalism is civic. They want people from anywhere to make their home in Scotland if they want to do that. They want to say that we welcome refugees. Not everyone flying the saltire appears to agree with that.